I'm in there, I'm hurting people. I'm hurting the world champions in sparring. When I was young, when I was 21 years old, 22 years old, I was sparring Triple G, I was sparring Surdo Ramirez, I was sparring Bivol. I was sparring all them guys, bro. So like, how do I not have the right to say that I can beat somebody in the fight when I've actually put hands on them in sparring? So they're always going to say the same thing. They're going to say, I'm scared of Benavidez, scared of Bivol, scared of Canelo, but I just let them talk, because it feels way better when I shut them dudes up.
David Benavidez just dropped a bold claim, saying he already proved against Dmitry Bivol in sparring that the unbeaten champion can be beaten.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So a lot of these people that try to discredit me or all the stuff I do, they just don't like me. Everything I say that they're going to hate on me and to say something stupid, they say, oh, well, sparring this and that. Yeah, bro, but I beat the fuck out of people in sparring, and then I do it in real life too. So man, I know what I'm talking about.
But Benavidez is not just talking about winning. He sounds certain he can stop Bivol, insisting he has what it takes to knock him out inside the ring.
I'm letting you know I can knock him out.
Oh,
I can knock him out. It's not gonna be easy, but I know I can.
Are you saying it off the sparring, or are you saying that just like?
No, off the sparring. Off the sparring, yeah. What happened in the sparrings? You know what I mean? I could definitely knock him out. It won't be easy because he's a great fighter, but that's also going to be another legendary fight when it gets made happen.
On the other hand, Churchill Boxing Gym co-founder Petter Berg offers a very different version of events, claiming Bivol actually dropped Benavidez with a sharp jab during sparring.
Incredible. Bivol trains in our gym, by the way.
Does he really?
Churchill Boxing. The hardest punch I've ever seen anyone throw in my life was in our gym. David Benavidez was sparring Bivol.
Whoa.
And David Benavidez is a great fighter, but Bivol caught him and dropped him with the jab.
Whoa.
In sparring.
Whoa.
In sparring. Bivol, incredible fighter.
Amazing.
He's
so
an example.
Benavidez,
so they both are. Those are actually two guys that I feel like could do it right.
Echoing a different view, Gabe Rosado, who has also sparred with Benavidez, describes him as a killer who comes to destroy, insisting he is not playing around at all.
He's a badass. He's not playing. So that's the thing with Benavidez is not just his skill set, it's his mind. I believe his mind is his biggest weapon. He just believes that no one can beat him. And he's willing to do whatever it takes to be victorious. And he's a killer. He's a killer, man. Benavidez goes into that ring and the only thing on his mind is to destroy. Guys go into the ring and they have a game plan. I'm going to box and then I'm going to do this and I'm going to win the fight like this. Benavidez wants to win the fight one way and one way only. He wants to destroy you.
To prove his doubters wrong, Benavidez has revealed that talks are in progress, with a potential fight being discussed for after September, possibly by the end of the year.
Can he still get to 75 though, if that's what he wants, to just defend his light heavyweight titles?
Yeah, I mean, I can still get to 175. The thing about is that if I do end up fighting him, it's probably not going to be until like the end of the year, or it won't be in September. But if I get to work now, I could get down to that weight, and that's exactly what I'm planning. Planning to do. I'm planning already get to work, because I know what's next after this. So I know I have to be 100% ready. Just like I tell you guys, I trained 5 months. So if I'm going against Dmitry Bivol, I'm getting to work like probably next week. I brought my family to vacation this week, but next week we're going to work.
While Benavidez talks about not just beating but stopping Bivol, Andre Durrell gives a much colder view. He believes Bivol sits on a completely different level, calling him the final boss in this matchup. Durrell feels the movement and timing would be too much for David, making it hard for him to find answers, even if the fight stays competitive.
Absolutely. Bivol's the final boss. Yes, I was already assuming you thought that, but I don't think he can beat Bivol. I don't think there's literally like nothing he can do to get the victory. I ain't saying they ain't gonna be close. What I'm saying is nothing he can do to win. I think Bivol will edge him out as far as moving. How David pursues versus how well Bivol moves and punches along with his movement will simply be too much for David.
Durrell also adds that David would keep pressing and trying to solve the puzzle as rounds go on, showing real heart and determination. He expects him to never quit and still put on a strong performance, but ultimately sees him learning the most from a loss rather than getting the win, even while fully respecting his talent and work ethic.
He'll be trying to figure it out. He'll be more determined as each round progresses, right? And he'll never give up, right? So that will in turn give him a great performance against Bivol, but he'll learn a lot about himself in that loss versus Bivol. That's the only sure thing for me, and I hate to be that guy, but I have to be that guy. I'm a boxer first, right? I see the talent, I see the skill set, right? I see the work ethic, you know, I see it all in Bivol, right? You know what I'm saying? He's very, very difficult to beat. And then I heard recently that Shakur and maybe Crawford feels the same way. I know he had a conversation with Shakur, and
At the same time, Durrell opens up about his sparring experience with Benavidez, saying he could not fully figure him out inside the gym. He describes him as strong, relentless, and always coming forward with pressure. Even with that, his view on the Bivol matchup does not change. He still believes Bivol has all the tools needed to control the fight, stay out of danger, and ultimately hand Benavidez a clear defeat through skill and movement.
any boxer in any weight class is already looking at Benavidez and wondering how they could beat him. It could be a guy literally 170. It could be Nayu anyway, for God's sakes. He'll never fight him, but he's just looking and saying, man, I can beat that dude with my movement. I know I can. I can keep him on the outside. So any boxer in any weight class is already looking at him and sizing him up and wondering how they can make it happen. So that's why I had the sparring. It's like, bro, we got to spar, but I just got to know what it's like. You know what I'm saying? I know I can pull something off, man. After that second round, I was done. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's the feet that'll ultimately end up beating David, but he's a special fighter, and I hope he has no ill will toward me because of that.
Adding his thoughts, Tim Bradley offers a different, familiar angle on the matchup, suggesting Bivol would not just stay defensive, but actually come forward and surprise Benavidez with pressure. He explains that Bivol can switch styles mid-fight, either engaging directly or falling back into pure boxing when needed. Bradley describes him as a top-level competitor whose only mindset is winning. While he admits the fight is interesting, he is unsure about the weight situation and whether Bivol would move up for it.
Bivol, if he fights Bivol, Bivol has the perfect style to beat him. Oh, I'm sorry to tell y'all, man. For real. Y'all come in for the real. Hey, I like me some David Benavidez. I do. Shit, I can't wait till we fight again. But Bivol is a recipe for disaster. Now, would it be a fight? Hell yeah. It'll be a fight. David Benavidez, he don't go nowhere easy. Hell no. But when you got good feet that matches with this, right? And you understand the sweet science, David, he got a high boxing IQ too. He does. He does. But he's stubborn, people. He's stubborn.
After his victory, talk around a possible fight between Benavidez and Alexander Usyk is also growing louder. But Tim Bradley quickly shuts down any idea that Benavidez would have the edge. He points out concerns with his footwork and how Usyk could make him pay for small mistakes. Bradley does acknowledge Benavidez's speed, combinations, and sharp body work, calling his offense impressive and dangerous, but he still believes stepping up against a bigger elite mover would expose serious gaps in his game.
The different breed of animal right here, man. Usyk is like Michael Jordan. Usyk is like Terrence Crawford. Usyk is, he's from that cloth, okay? He's from that damn cloth. So, let's not say that David ain't from that cloth either. However, it's a huge size difference. I think skill for skill, ability for ability, David got skills, he does. But Usyk, he got this. This is where I think he beats David. He gonna beat David with this, right? Oh yeah, and he's the bigger fighter at 6'4", right? With a 78-inch reach. David's sitting around 6'2". Yeah, he got about a 75-inch reach.
As the discussion continues, Sean Porter also weighs in with his thoughts on the situation. In his view, Moving toward a fight with Jai Opetaia is the smarter direction right now, especially with Bivol still in the picture and bigger options still on the table. Porter compares Opetaia's style and toughness to other top-level fighters and believes he brings a real physical challenge that cannot be ignored. He sees that matchup as a serious test rather than to tune up. Porter also suggests that Opetaia's toughness and pressure could make it one of the most demanding fights in the division at the moment.
At that weight class, I personally want to see the fight against Opetaia. I personally want to see the fight against Bivol. Bivol, you're still around, and since you're still around, not that we're feeding you to the wolves, but this guy I think is young, vibrant, and probably would be, in a lot of ways, a tougher fight than Benavidez.
Sharing a different stance to what Sean Zittel brings, Sean Porter believes the true fight with Bivol and Beterbiev is less entertaining compared to a clash involving Benavidez against either of them. While Zittel insists the undisputed direction should happen first and that Benavidez should wait his turn, Porter feels the situation is more complex. In his eyes, a fight between Bivol and Benavidez would be far more competitive and physically demanding for Benavidez than people expect. He suggests the styles involved make that matchup a much tougher puzzle, even before talking about Beterbiev's power and pressure.
But Beterbiev, he's not complicated. He's going to be right there to hit and be hit, And like we saw with Bivol, it's up to Bivol to make the right moves, not be in the wrong spots at the right time. But with this fight with Benavidez, to me, there's just so much more that both these guys can do against one another that it makes it a better fight than a trilogy match with Beterbiev.
Sean Zittel adds a surprising twist to the conversation, suggesting Benavidez should next face Moses Itama, a rising heavyweight prospect who could make the fight both tough and entertaining. With talks around Benavidez's moving up to heavyweight gaining attention, Zittel believes this matchup makes sense as a testing ground. However, he also points out that Benavidez himself does not seem fully focused on heavyweight yet, making this idea more of a bold suggestion than a confirmed direction for his next move.
Benavidez over everybody. But in the heavyweight division, though, that's a step too far right now, and there is a David Benavidez of the heavyweight division, and his name is Moses Itama. So,
wow,
yep.
Nobody's talking about Moses Itama, at least that I've seen or heard, and not much. But of course, to me, everybody's looking at the biggest, which is Usyk, and everybody's looking at.
Oh no, that's the fight being discussed. But I'm just saying, like.
No, and I'm pointing that out, like you're coming with a name that not a lot of people are thinking about or considering.
But among all the possible matchups, the fight getting the most attention remains Bivol, with Benavidez himself insisting negotiations are already underway. Chris Algieri strengthens that idea, stressing why this fight needs to happen. In his view, Canelo Alvarez has already lost to Bivol once, and if Benavidez steps in next, it becomes the ultimate statement win. Beating the man who defeated Canelo would not only settle a long-running rivalry, but also erase years of frustration, pushing Benavidez's legacy to an entirely new level.
No question, Bivol. He needs to go down to 75. He needs to conquer the man who conquered the man who wouldn't fight him. And that's Canelo Alvarez. There's no other way about it. He has to go down to 175 and fight Dmitry Bivol, because Canelo wouldn't fight Benavidez at 68. He obviously went up to fight 75 against Bivol. Actually went up to 75 to beat Kovalev, and he did amazingly. And then he went back up again to fight Bivol, which was a mistake, obviously. Takes the loss. So you don't want to fight me? Cool. I'm going to go beat the guy who beat you. How about that? There's no better smack in the face.
Criticism from Jai Opetaia fans is also entering the conversation, but Chris Algieri pushes back with a different angle. He points out that Opetaia already has promotional roadblocks due to being signed with Matchroom and believes Benavidez should not waste time chasing that direction. Instead, he argues the Bivol fight is the real opportunity right now, while Opetaia can be considered later. Algieri adds that if Benavidez manages to beat Bivol, it would instantly put him above Canelo in terms of legacy and achievement.
Not saying he beats Bivol, but hypothetically, he goes down there and he beats Bivol. He at that point what he has everything over Canelo at that point. You didn't want to fight me. Cool. You went up, you lost. I went up, I beat that guy. I went down, excuse me. Went up, went down, and beat that guy.
Went around.
All around.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Opetaia fight has a lot of roadblocks and a lot of problems being
but
made.
There's time on that. They can
There
fight
is time on that.
later.
There is time. They're the same age, around the
young.
same age. There's time. The Bivol fight is commercially, it's a home run. People now know who Bivol is. Stylistically, it's a home run.
Stepping into the conversation, Gabe Rosado explains what it truly takes to beat Benavidez. In his view, it is not just about having a game plan, but about being willing to go through a war in the ring. He describes him as a true fighter who lives up to his nickname, the Mexican Monster. Rosado believes he thrives on sensing fear in opponents, and once he detects it, he takes full control of the fight, pushing non-stop until he breaks whoever stands in front of him.
You really can't go in there and say, I'm gonna box or I'm gonna do this. Like, yeah, you have to be smart and you have to have a strategy, but you gotta thug it out with him. Because the moment that Benavidez smells fear, or he knows he can intimidate you, or he knows that he has the upper hand on you, he's just gonna turn up. So you have to hit Benavidez with some hard shots. You gotta sit in the pocket and you gotta bang with him. But the thing is, when Zurdo was throwing shots back, it really wasn't power shots. It was more like point shots. And you know, that's really not gonna do nothing for Benavidez. You gotta really sit in the pocket and hit him with some hard shots.
It's something I really like about Benavidez is, you know, he throws his jab, his two. He could throw a bit of combos, but
Despite knowing what happened between Bivol and Benavidez in sparring, and having shared rounds with him himself, Rosado still believes Jai Opetaia is the tougher fight for Benavidez. He explains that meeting Opetaia left a strong impression on him, especially his strength, composure, and physical toughness. In Rosado's eyes, Opetaia brings a different kind of danger that could push Benavidez deeper than expected. He sees it as a matchup built on pressure, power, and endurance, making it a serious test for him.
If I'm in Benavidez's position, I would defend the titles at 175. Because Jai is a heavyweight that makes cruiserweight. You know what I mean? Zurdo was a super middleweight that moved up to cruiserweight. You know, Zurdo's really not, he's a big guy, but not a big guy like Opetaia. This guy is different, man. I remember I met him in Vegas. Dude got these big hands. He's just a different dude, man. He literally looks like a heavyweight.
And he's a young dude.
Yeah, and he's very athletic. You know, and he got skills and power.
Gabe Rosado insists that Jai Opetaia is the real threat for Benavidez, saying that matchup would truly test him at the highest level. If that does not happen, he still sees the Bivol fight as highly interesting, calling it a clash between the Mexican Monster and the Russian style of Bivol, with Beterbiev adding even more danger to the division. On the other hand, Sofia Gutierrez believes the Bivol fight is the true home run, capable of settling even the biggest rivalry with Canelo.
Is the biggest threat for Benavidez would be that fight. I like the fight with Bivol now while it's still hot, while Bivol's still in his prime, and then Beterbiev.
I like, he's just older. I think right now Bivol would be good, and we know that Benavidez has been calling out Canelo. Who knows if that would ever happen, but if he were to make a statement and beat Bivol, I don't think anybody would kind of be like, hey, we still need that Canelo fight, because it's like, what more do you need to see?
From sparring claims to legacy-defining matchups, the pressure is only rising for Benavidez as the boxing world splits over what comes next. Bivol, Beterbiev, or Jai Opetaia, every name brings a different level of danger and drama. Now it is your turn. Which fight should happen next and why? Drop your take in the comments, hit subscribe for more boxing breakdowns, and stay locked for the next update.